Welcome back to another edition of Film Room. They haven't cut us off yet. We're still rolling. We got week 6 of the college football season, week 4.5 or something of USF. We got myself, Robert Steeg, the always libacious, the always succulent Seth Varnadore, filled with information, filled with good stuff, here to break down a little film for us, talking about the University of Cincinnati against the University of South Florida in their football match this past weekend. Seth, we lost. That kind of sucked.
That's correct. It wasn't unexpected. It
wasn't 52-0. They scored points, so that's always good. But there's definitely some stuff we can look at and get some good discussion on. What do we have this week?
Let's fire it up here. Let's start with the first interception of the game.
Oh.
All right, so we got like a little levels concept, I think, up here where you got a 10-yard dig and a 5-yard dig. This is pretty good against two high safeties. We see 1, 2 here. That's pretty good. Down here, you have a slot fade and then I think a hitch outside. So against too high, you probably want to work this way, but he works the other way. Like, you probably want to just bang this one in right there, but he works the other way and he gets smoked by a free rusher, and that causes him to kind of get the ball, get something taken off of it. And that's kind of, I think the real cause of this first interception is him getting smoked.
I was going to say, because Bryce Miller looks like he has a step.
Yeah, he's going this way, and we think Marsh is a pretty good arm, so he might have had him there, but this is just one where it kind of happens back here. He gets killed, and the ball just sails up and it sails on him. Easy pick for the defense. Now coming the other way, you said that a bunch of moving and stuff here. They showed 3 down. They're just going to drop people in the coverage, but a really good job here. I think this is Thad Mangum, just one-on-one, and he just wins. If you can get a pass rush with 3 guys, that makes everything a lot easier. You see, I think that's Brian Norris there. That's kind of maybe with spine, or as soon as he sees Ritter break contained, he flies 100 miles an hour. Forces the throw, and then you got true freshman Matt Harris jumps in front of it for an interception, gets him the ball right back. But don't worry. We'll give it right back. So here's something that Jeff Scott talked about on his radio show. When you are running a go route, almost always you have, or a fade, whatever you want to call it, you have, most of the time you'll have, especially if you have an out route coming here, which I believe you do. I know you just have to sit. You have a mandatory outside release. So we want you to release outside, but what we don't want you to do is run away from this corner and get yourself squeezed to the sidelines. You don't want to get too much further than like here, like 5 yards from the sideline maybe. And if you listen to Jeff Scott's radio show, he says these 2 interceptions on the receivers, and they are. Because if I run away from contact, instead of kind of right here, I just got to get vertical, give my quarterback all this room to throw the ball. That's my territory. It's just a fight for territory right here. Out here, that I have to leave that for my quarterback. Otherwise, I have nowhere to throw it. So if I just avoid contact and I run down the sideline, well, it's really easy to squeeze me to the sideline now, and the quarterback can't throw it into the power aim back there. We're compressed now. We have compressed space, and now the quarterback's got nowhere to throw it. So he's kind of relying on you to give him the space. So he throws it early, and now you let yourself get compressed, and it's an easy interception for the corner. So that one. So a couple of these. So really, none of the 3 interceptions were terrible by Marsh. He's got to get some help from other places. The first time he needs help in pass protection there, it's kind of the receiver could help him out. But USF kept playing up front. There are a lot of movement, being aggressive, and here they just do a good job of Cincinnati. They kind of confuse Cincinnati here. Typically, if I'm running some type of counter, this is like a little buck sweep action. Typically, why people like gap plays. So gap plays are when somebody pulls typically, because I can block down and I have good angles to block down. Right? So it gives me good angles on the offensive line. I can pin these guys in here, and I'm pulling these other guys around to create space. But this linebacker being this close gives the center some problems. He's not quite sure what he should do. Should he block this guy head up? He's going to slant. So should he stay? Technically, if your rule is head up or down, you should go with that guy. But now the linebacker's there, so he's not quite sure what to do. So you can see on the snap here, he actually doesn't block down. He lets this nose go backside, and he's got his eyes on that linebacker because I think he thinks he's coming. Well, now the nose gets through free. Here's the center trying to get his arm back there. It's too late. You basically let the nose go free into the backfield right behind the puller. And then he makes a great play knocking the ball out. And again, I believe that's Thad Mangum falling on it and Blake Green with the force fumble. So a little bit of causing confusion with your looks, which is nice to see some aggressiveness. A little bit later in the game, so special teams had some problems, but this was a pretty fun idea. And we talked about it on the podcast earlier this week, but one reason why special teams may be struggling is because they're not going to run a guy out to start every play on offense and then play a bunch of special teams, or start every play on defense more likely and play a bunch of special teams. So when I'm having to dig into my second and third string linebacker type bodies and defensive back type bodies, I might have to pull them off special teams now. So they're not playing every play of the game and getting worn down. So now maybe you got guys that haven't had as much practice on these units. So that could be a reason why you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown. But here's a good scheme. We're going to fake the reverse here. So we got the reverse here. You can already see eyes are kind of on it. He's going to kind of go a little wide here. And that's enough right there. So you see he's breaking down, and he kind of gets out of his lane, and now there's a little crease here. You can really see on the end zone view, and Ford does a good job just taking in that crease. But just using that misdirection to kind of pop a big play. And then if you could just get past one more guy. Yeah. And I'm not sure who this guy is, but he's humongous, and he's running downfield. He may be a guy that had to kind of jump in, but that's a big dude on the kickoff return team right there. So, yeah, you're one block away there. You end up missing a field goal out of that, but still some positive stuff. Right here's something they did quite a bit, which I thought was really cool. They'd show rush, and then one of the linemen would drop out, and they'd bring pressure. So watch the defensive tackle over here. He gets the guard engaged. Now these guys are free to kind of come through that gap because the center's engaged here, the guard's engaged, and now he's just going to drift back in case they want to try to throw something hot. Ritter's got to pull his eyes down because this movement causes some penetration, and they're able to get the sack. So just playing games with the offensive line, getting them to try to, getting them thinking one thing, then doing the other. Good stuff from the defense. Here's the third interception, and a similar thing. Watch. Do I get to his outside and then get vertical with him and lean on him when the ball's thrown, get width? Or do I just try to run away from the guy and get width? So right here you can see I'm just kind of widening to the sideline. Where am I when this ball is thrown? I'd like to be where I started, probably on the bottom of the numbers. If I'm on the bottom numbers, this is a pretty good spot. The ball still might be a little bit long, but then the receiver, if you're on the defensive back's outside shoulder already, and the ball's a little long, it'll fall harmlessly out of bounds. If you let him get the outside position, then this is what happens. So again, another one where your receiver could have helped you out a little bit. But interceptions giveth, and you also take it. So kind of a similar deal. They have a slot fade. Townsville squeezes the receiver, doesn't let him get all the space. He's kind of right on his hip, squeezing him down. Gets his head around and makes a great play on the ball and just steals it at the end here.
That's a great play by a true freshman.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, being in his hip, like you tell DBs, you want to be in your hip pocket. I mean, he's right hip to hip with him right here. Get your eyes turned around. I mean, this is really good stuff. And then make a play on the ball and play through the hands. So you can see here, his arm is actually through the middle there of the receiver's hands. Mm-hmm. Right there. The receiver's kind of got the ball, but his arm is in the middle, so he just kind of rips it through and finds the ball. That's really well played right there, especially for a true freshman. But really well played for anybody. So here's the end of the half. This is an encouraging sign from Cade Fortin, I thought. I thought he played all right. I'll be interested to see if he gets more run here. But moving the pocket, I mean, right here, not panic, not pulling the ball down when he gets this pressure right here, just slides back. I mean, this is what you love to see if you're a quarterback coach. Slide away from the pressure. Now if I got to escape. Get flat down the line, parallel to it. Keep your eyes downfield. And find somebody. So this is good stuff. I'd like to see more from him. Hopefully we get to see some this week. Second half, you get a little more Jordan McLeod in here. So we're running kind of a mesh look here with two guys crossing. I think they like to run it with like a dig behind it here, kind of opening up this hole over here. So if you get man and they both run out, you have a hole there. But he's able to hit St. Felix on the run. He breaks the tackle and gets a nice gain on first down for another first down. All right. I think we got a play skipped here. Yeah, whatever.
It's life.
It
was the Johnny Ford run, right?
It was, I think, the throw to him. But anyways, here's the 4th and 13. You're going to have the jet motion. Upfield, come back, get the reverse, inside. You got man with the motion there. Quarterback leaks out on a wheel route type thing. Jet, reverse, throwback. Oh, Lord. Then you see a little bit of a nasty finish here from one of the offensive linemen. I believe that is Cecil, who's in his first game here. Watch over here. Yeah, nice throw and catch for a first down.
Nice little creativity. That I think you and I were both, actually, I think there was three of us talking about it, how the first half kind of felt vanilla. Second half felt a little bit more like they opened up the playbook a little bit more. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, is it vanilla? I think it has been a little maybe conservative, a little vanilla throughout the year. Is that because you're having to work so many new guys in at offensive line and quarterback? Because when those guys, if you have to keep it basic for them, that's gonna stop. If you gotta get the quarterback, keep it basic for him, that's going to limit what you can do. Same for the offensive line. So is that why, with McLeod in, who's played a little bit more, were they able to do more? I don't know. That's something that I think monitor going forward. How much more are they able to do kind of creatively and especially in the passing game, kind of do some different things. Mm-hmm. Right here, they just jet sweep, run. The jet action holds some guys. Johnny Ford gets downhill. And they also – they jet and they bring tight end across. He's almost like a lead blocker. It could have been. It may have been split zone, but he just kind of gets vertical and the back falls.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw it was first and goal there, I got a little panicky because I know our backs aren't big, and your typical thing is just to push and hope that your big back can get through. But I'm pleased to see that they're. I mean, Charlie Weiss Jr. Seems like he has a good goal line package available where he's reading throughout what the defense is giving him.
And they'll run motion and stuff to try to slow guys down and let their backs hit the whole 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. Here's the play that I thought, and you'll see. There's some creativity and some design here, but it just doesn't get thrown. And this happened against a similar thing happening against Notre Dame. So you're going to have kind of inside, probably running a post right here. He's going to go out to the corner. And right here, you got the motion, like we're throwing this screen right here. So you're hoping the screen action, and then this receiver coming out is going to hold the corner. He sees the post. He's going to take it. And then you try to slip this guy up the sideline. It looks like they have it, but it's going to be a tight window throw, and the quarterback just doesn't even attempt it. So right here, I mean, he's kind of trailing. I see what he's thinking right there. He's kind of trailing, but, you got to kind of anticipate that's going to take him out of there. Right here, he's still kind of looking at it. Why not try to fit it in there? I mean, it's a tight window. You got this guy trailing, but he's beat. Mm-hmm. Fit it in there. Instead, he drops it off to the back, and you lose a yard when, if you look at how it ends up right here, by the time he throws it, you see the safety's out. This guy's chasing underneath the post. You'd have this wheel. You kind of got to trust it and just throw it in that tight window right there and let it happen. Because right there, he's beat. You got to stick it on him right in that window, and then you got a chance to make some explosive plays in the pass game, which they really need to do. So here you got the next interception. This one is kind of a combination of errors. Again, this is a concept they really like. Hitch, seam, hitch, slot, fade, right?
Yeah.
So right here, I'm watching the corners. This is basically like the smash concept. It's the same idea. I'm watching the corners, like kind of his demeanor. And a lot of times his upper body can kind of tell you what's going on. So right here, he's leaning forward to start, right? He's leaning forward, he's backpedaling. So he can drive on the ball pretty well. But right here, he opens up his hips. You got to rush in your face. But as soon as he opens up his hips, right here, I'm driving that ball out to the hitch. If you don't, right, he opens up his hips, that means he can run underneath the deep stuff. Which he's not the guy that makes a play, but still, you look at your hitch out here. Just take it. Mm-hmm. Don't force it into this tight window, and you wouldn't force it into one on the sideline where the guy was open. Just take that hitch right there, even though you got a guy in your face. Now, it doesn't help that he gets smoked right after he throws it, but don't force it into that coverage. Just take the hitch. The corner's bailing. Just drop it off. Another interesting pressure package with the interception on the back end here. You see all these guys that are kind of – the offensive line's got to figure out what to do with all of them because they could all come. So they have to have a plan. Do they all come? No, you see one of the down linemen here actually drops out. And you just overload this side with bodies.
Good Lord.
Yeah. But it's kind of you end up not blitzing as many as you think. Basically everybody from here over comes.
And then Thad Mangum actually drops off.
Yeah, so you actually don't bring – it looks like you could bring 7. And how many do you actually bring? You only bring 4, right? So he's dropping underneath, he's dropped out. And now I bring 4, but I bring 4 to the same side. So I get 1 free, and then you're playing man. You got to make plays in man. And old Crazy Eyes makes a play right here. So I was really encouraged by what I saw the defense doing, just schematically too. The aggressiveness, the scheme behind it. So here's kind of the same concept he hits St. Felix coming across on. You got kind of mesh under here. He's going to run a dig over the ball. He doesn't see this guy right here, but if he's on his hip pocket and he's kind of trailing behind him here, this thing's going to open up wide open behind in this hole. So that's kind of the idea. These guys vacate the middle of the field. Well, now I got this coming behind it, right? And then outside there, if the corner's off, I could just take that out route one-on-one. But here, if they're flying across with it and playing it pretty well, and he thinks that right now he's got this guy beat, but he just doesn't ever see him. So he just throws it, and now he's just waiting for you. But if you'd have waited a little longer, maybe came to his third read, you have this guy springing wide open here. And maybe he makes a catch and a run, and now you got something going.
So there's some good stuff there. It's hidden by all the bad.
Yeah, I mean that's early. It's still early season. I wonder. They're probably just maybe a week or two past how many practices they would have had in spring. I mean, they're not way past how many practices they would have. So they're still probably practice wise. They're kind of ending camp probably right now with the amount of practices they've had. If you include what they should have in spring, what they should have in fall camp. So,
and you can kind of see the who they like in these kind of positions right now. I mean, obviously you have Jordan McLeod, who we all kind of knew was going to be vying for that starting role no matter what. And then you had basically 4 huge question marks of how are they going to run their offense in the fall, and now we're kind of seeing how they're running that offense, and you can already kind of count that. Unfortunately, you can kind of count out Jordan Smith and Noah Johnson almost immediately because, I mean, no offense to either one of those quarterbacks, they're both fantastic at what they do, but they don't fit the mold of what they're looking for in this offense. It's clear.
What? Yeah, and Jeff Scott said today, I think, or it may have been yesterday, that we're going to have to push the ball down the field to win, which, I've been talking about that since game 1, because you could see if you're not able to push the ball down the field, well, what's going to happen is people are just going to come up and be able to press you, and they're going to be able to keep their safeties playing downhill in the run game, and then it kills your run game and your pass game. So it's kind of a double whammy. So you got to be able to loosen people up and take some shots down the field. I think Travis Marshall will take the shots.
He will.
Jordan McLeod seems hesitant to even take the shots. And then when he did, it was kind of an ill-advised one. So he's probably like, what the frick? What am I, when I do throw downfield, it's never a great result. But I think you got to be able to – I think he's got to get to the point where he feels – and this is part of a competition too, where you feel comfortable enough that, hey, man, I just got to make that throw. Because if I'm not trying to make these throws in the tighter windows, then I'm not really helping the team much as I'm not hurting the team by not throwing an interception. I'm trying to be so risk-averse that I'm actually hurting the team because I'm risk-averse rather than hurting the team because I'm risky. And that's kind of what comes to the competition sometimes. You don't want to make the turnover that loses you the job, but you may end up losing the job anyways if you don't make any throws. So
don't want to be too conservative, but you don't want to, let it rip every time.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta find the balance, and then, but when the throws are there, you gotta make them. You can't be afraid to sit in there and make them, and just sometimes eventually you just gotta let it rip and see what happens. Hopefully you're a good enough player that it works out for you.
And no better time to do it than this week, now that we kind of had some sort of consistency put in there along the offensive line and at the receivers. You're not playing a top 10 defense this week. You're actually probably playing quite the opposite.
Yes,
so if there's a time that you need to step up and prove it, this is the week. So, hopefully I think depth chart wise, I think it's Jordan McLeod and then Noah Johnson. I think it's the same as it's always been. I think it's Noah Johnson and then Kate Fortin. But obviously that's no indictment of who is actually going to be the starter. Rumors are circulating that it's going to be Jordan McLeod, and my hope is that if we do see either Marsh or Fortin, it's going to be in the fourth quarter because we're winning by double digits instead of in a close game and you're kind of needing a spark in the second or third quarter.
Yeah, I would hope that we could see one of them get an extended run because now unless Jordan comes out and he starts and he comes out really hot and they're firing and let it roll. I mean, you want to win games, but it's kind of tough. These guys I don't feel like they've gotten quite as much of a shot as Jordan noted in the first two games. Give him an extended look, see what they can do. Especially Cade Ford hasn't. He's got 6 throws in the year. He's 2 for 6. One of them was an unbelievable throw that, unfortunately, the receiver was a foot out of bounds.
Yeah.
If he's a foot inbounds, it's the throw of the season, and everyone's like, "Holy crap, who's this Cade Ford dude? We got to play him more." So, I'd be interested to see more of him. But if McLeod comes out firing and he's just like, let's put it out there and let it rip, then keep it rolling. Whoever comes out on fire, let it go.
God, I hope we find an answer this week, or else it's going to be a long
rest. If it ain't this week, it ain't happening. I don't think.
Exactly. So. Well, Seth, as always, it's a pleasure. It's fantastic getting the absolute genius, getting a look at everything like through the eyes of an absolute guru. So much appreciated.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll take it.
Well, perfect. Well, that's it for Film Room. Green against ECU. God, what time is that game at? I think it's at like 3:30 or noon.
No, it's a 7:00.
At 7:00.
Listen,
oh, thank God.
Why would you stay home and watch Miami versus Clemson? But you could come out to Raymond James and watch USF and ECU.
Exactly. I mean,
are you even a football fan?
Game of the century is what they were calling it.
Yes.
They were missing a few words, but game of the century.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Again, from the Daily Stampede Film Room, I'm Robert Steeg at Robert Steeg Life. We got Seth Varnadore at Seth Varnadore. Make sure to follow us there. And then also at the Daily Stampede, or excuse me, at Stampede SBN. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.